Hi YouTube, it's Dawn. I am coming to you live from my living room. So if you hear a gurgling noise in the background, I do apologize. That is my fish tank. Um, I was traveling over the weekend, as the last video told you. I went to go see my dad. I haven't seen him in quite some time. And there's a lot of baggage there that I needed to go in and check on him because of things that have happened in that I discussed in previous videos that don't want to get into now. Um, so here I am with your weekly video for Writers and Recs. Ivy is in thesis hell at the moment. I wasn't going to shoehorn her into my travel plans. I didn't want her to feel like she had to come into a video in the middle of. I'm actually filming this on Tuesday, so after I film this, I'm going to put it up and then have it scheduled to drop on Wednesday. Um, so I wanted to just come in, do a quick little video so this way you guys can see that, we are trying to provide continuous content for you guys. So yeah, this is my living room. Um, Usually you are down in the pit that I affectionately call. So that is my room. So yeah, I think I like the pit a little bit better because it's quieter. I don't have the to battle with the fish tank, but that is totally besides the point. Next week we will be back down there. Okay, so now that the intro is done, let's get on to this week's topic. This week's topic was something that I was meaning to talk about because it is something that frustrates me to no end, and it frustrates me as a storyteller. And I would come here, and this is my plea for other authors to think very hard before they do something like this. And I am talking about the video game that is Final Fantasy 15. Hear me out. Hear me out. I've never made it a secret that um, out of what started to out to be the trio of us, it's now the duo. We I was always going to be the video game anime voice of reason. Um, a lot of I will admit I am not as well read as Ivy or Abby or a whole lot of other people, but I do play games. A lot of times, a lot of stories, they just couldn't keep my attention, but video games could. And that is why I write the way I write. I don't generally write for the scholar, and I don't write for dumb entertainment. I write for people that like good stories, but they don't want to get bogged down by words. And that sounds really weird now that I've said that. Um, Whereas you have The Count of Monte Cristo, don't get me wrong, I love that story, but it is over nearly 1,000 pages of a revenge fic. You don't need that many pages, and the font is like point 0.6 something or other. Yeah, thanks, but no. Um, I like my quick, fast entertainment. I like having action-packed entertainment. So that is where video games and anime became my wheelhouse. But also, when it comes to anime and video games, I get a lot more story. Um, I will not get into the rabbit hole that is The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2. That will be another video at another time, but right now I am going to discuss Final Fantasy 15 and what you should not do as a storyteller. Um, I have under my belt right now 8 novels. As of this recording, I have 8 novels published on Amazon out in the world. I have 3 are a series, Maxwell Investigations. 2 are a beginning of a series, The Murder of Crows. And then I have the part of a shared world, Once Upon a Villain, and I have the Et Lapis Sanguis. That is a new series where I am currently working on book 2 of that series. Um, I will say each of my books are a complete series. That being said, each of my books are a complete story. There is a difference. And that is what Final Fantasy 15 missed. For those of you that don't know, I'll rewind it a little bit. For those of you that don't know, Final Fantasy 15 is the story of Prince Noctis and his adventures with the affectionately known Chocobros, his 3 best friends. One is a guard, one is a retainer, one is his best friend from high school. As they go and collect royal arms for him to defeat the darkness that has come to scour the land. Final Fantasy, when it first came out, it was one of those wonderfully like, oh my god, this thing is gonna be so huge. But when it came out, it was a wah, wah. Because when it came out, they announced that it was gonna come out. There was a movie that goes along with it, Final Fantasy 15 Kingsglaive, which I have, which I enjoy immensely. That tells you part of the story. Then you have a 5-part anime, Final Fantasy 15 Brotherhood. And these were released like right before the game came out. Then Final Fantasy 15 came out. And throughout the game, you followed Prince Noctis, which is okay. But any other Final Fantasy game, you have multiple party members. And each of these party members, they have their own backstory. You go and you see these backstories in the main game. We didn't get that. We got pieces of DLC that we had to buy. Those pieces of DLC could have easily been woven into the game. There were also additional cutscenes added on later on to the game so that it makes a little bit more sense. They should have been in there from release day, but that is totally a different complaint. Then we had DLC season 1 was episodes Gladio, Prompto, and Ignis, which were not released chronologically in the game. Gladio was the only one that released. It was like that was the first one that released. That was the one that happened in the game first, for the most part. Then we get season 2, and it's announced that season 2 would have Ardyn, the main antagonist of the game. Episode Aranea, which is a side character that you see, and she was a badass. She was the Dragoon of the game, of this Final Fantasy game. You had episode Lunafreya, and then another episode Noctis. Well, after they finished, they were putting like the finishing touches on episode Ardyn. They decided to kill the rest of the DLC, and they put it into a light novel. So now we have a movie, an anime, a game. DLC for Gladio, DLC for Prompto, DLC for Ignis, DLC for Ardyn, and a book to get one story. That is different from the likes of Final Fantasy X versus Final Fantasy X-2. That is totally different from Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 13-2 and Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, which, in my opinion, do not get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy 13. I really did enjoy it. They didn't need to make the other 2 games. They really didn't. But As a storyteller, I went and I found the summaries for the book, for the light novel. And I was hurt and angry and upset because, again, as a storyteller, that and as a gamer, that would have been a way more satisfying end than what we got. As a storyteller, I want everyone that's looking here, I'm hoping that when they come in, they want to see recommendations on how to get good stories, how to think outside the box when it comes to writing, when they feel like they don't know which way they want to turn, because they haven't seen something that they want to write, so and they don't really know how to figure it out. We're trying to help. um so when my main thing is, if you're going to write a series, but make sure that each of your books are a complete book. That being said, I know there are people that put out serials of their novels. That's fine if that is your goal. But you need to make it known from Jump Street, from when you put out the first part of your serial, that this is a serial. Don't try to sell it as a complete book. Don't sit there and say, oh, this is book one of. Don't say this is book one of this series. No, this is part one of this serial. Also, when it comes to serials, when it comes to I'll put it in fan fiction terms. When it comes to serials, it's like doing a fanfic but there's a little bit more pressure because you have to have it, not saying that you half-ass your fanfic. No, I'm never saying that. But you have to put a lot more polish on something when it's published, because people are paying for this. People are paying for your stuff. All right. So you want it to look and be the best that it can be. So you don't want to sit back and have something, put all this effort into something, and then it just falls through. I'm going through that with Murder of Crows. I went, I put it out, I published it. No one's buying it, but it is what it is. I'm moving on to other things. I'm trying other things and eventually I will get back to that series. I just put a hold on it for now. But you don't want to sit there and promise people, "Oh, I'm going to have out a serial every month or a serial every." Well, it has to be every month, because if you go every other month, people will forget about it. So then you have an added pressure on yourself to have it written, edited, looking good, um, formatted, polished out perfectly, or as close to perfect as you can afford to get it, and then have it up within a month. When it comes to doing pre-orders on Amazon, you can do pre-orders up until a year out. Um, I would advise against that, because you forget about it. The people that have ordered it may forget about it, unfortunately, because we are in a circumstance where everything is now, 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 give me now, now, now. um so you want to have as complete of a story as possible, before you go and just bam, put it out there, bam, put it out there, bam, put it out there, bam, put it out there. And again, it goes back to something that we said before. You do you, but you have to make sure it's sustainable. I don't think I would be able to sustain putting out a book every something that's at least 30,000 words every 6 weeks, because that is what people are expecting. Um, there are other ways that I could phrase it, but I don't want to seem derogatory or nonchalant to readers. I would never do that. Um, so please don't take it the wrong way when I say that. It's that you want to make sure your reader base knows you, and you don't want to set them up to be disappointed. That is why my kid, after a while, I would not tell her when we're going on trips or if people were coming to visit her, because things would happen and the visit would fall through, or we wouldn't be able to go on the trip. I wouldn't be able to afford it, so I'd have to cancel. So don't, that's a look of disappointment that no one wants to deal with. That's something that it's not a good look. So, back to Final Fantasy 15. I will not give you any spoilers just quite yet as to what happens in the book. I may come back. I'll give it some time. I'll probably give it about till November or so to do a full rant on all of Final Fantasy 15. But I did want to come in and say, hey, this is like not cool. I don't want people to think that this is the way a story should be told. Because yes, it is an epic game, but if you're going, Final Fantasy is a game. If you go into a game looking for a game, it's not a complete story. You should not have to go and piecemeal together 15 billion different pieces, 7 different pieces of media you should not have to buy in order to get one story. That to me is not fair. Some people do that, and again, I'm not talking about your 2.99 cereal. If you can sustain it, that's fine. I'm talking about you putting together a $10 book. You, because Kindle prices, they can go anywhere from 2.90 to get that 70%. To get that 70% royalty, um you have to sit back and you have to price your book between 2.99 and 9.99. I don't want anyone to try to get that 9.99 and it not be a complete book. I'm not even talking paperback, because most of my paperbacks are like $15. I do believe. Um, so they're between $10 and $15, my paperbacks. So I I just want to make sure everyone knows that when you're writing your stories, make them as complete as possible. That being said, also, again, I am a pantser. I will tell everyone I am a pantser. I have a beginning, I have something of a middle, and I have an end. Sometimes not even that. I'm telling you, if you have a mind, if you're writing something that is epic in scope, me, where the world is so huge and the more you write, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Write things down. Even if what I have done is I've had a friend, one friend, she made a Bible for me for one story, a book Bible. Um, in the comments below, if you want us to go into what a book Bible is and how you put one together, I can definitely, we can try to work it out. Um, a friend of mine put together a book Bible. I have gone during my read throughs and I'll write down little points of interest that could come back and bite me in the behind in another story. Um, I do that all of the time. So this way I know from book one to book two, if there's something that's going on, if I mention someone has green eyes in book one, I don't want them to have blue eyes in book two. If I go and I mention someone has dark hair in book one, I don't want to make them a blonde in book three. That sort of thing. You always have that you always need that kind of guideline, because I just found out something that it's kind of like, oh, are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? And that is with My Hero Academia, where there is an interview with the creator, and he says one of the biggest plot points that he's had in season one was there is a traitor in this high school with all of these kids that have superhero power, all of these superpowers called quirks. So you have all of these kids, and they're like, oh, there's a traitor here. The traitor has to be one of the teachers, or it could be a student. We don't know who the traitor is. We have accused, the fandom has accused various people on being the UA traitor. Come to find out, now that the creator, that was season one of the manga. Season two of the manga is where they were starting to talk about this UA traitor. Well, he's in now season 5. We're just up to we just finished season 4 of the anime. So 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 of the manga. He's forgotten about the UA traitor. He doesn't remember why he put it in. He doesn't remember who he wanted to be the UA traitor. There will be no big reveal of who the UA traitor is. You don't want to do that, because there will be fans, there will be people that will go, excuse me, in book 1, line 2, chapter 4, paragraph C, you mentioned this. But in book 5, here they are doing that exact thing you said they couldn't do in book 1. Why? You don't want to be like the showrunners for Game of Thrones. You don't want to sit there and be like, I forgot. That's not a good look. It really isn't. And that is a very unprofessional outlook if you really, really want to think about it. So, that being said, when you write, make yourself complete. Know your shit. Fill out the entire world. And if it's too long, then you can make it into a serial, but just know like 50,000 word serials if you can't do it, break it up into parts, but don't do too many. Don't try to condense it as much as possible. Less is more in this case. So yeah, that is pretty much what I came up here to say. I am sorry about the glare that keeps coming in and out. I'm doing natural lighting today because we're in the living room, not the pit. We will see you again next week. Let me see. Do I have anything else I want to go over? No, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over. Next week I have no clue what we will be discussing. So I will see you then, and I will have Ivy with me. This is Dawn from Writers and Rex. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ring the notification bell so this way you know when we come up here. And we will see you next time. Peace. Ciao. See ya.